You're listening to the Thunder Hour Podcast, hosted by Treh and James Hamilton, and produced by Lee Dietrich.
Welcome back to Thunder Hour Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long year. We started doing this thing way back at the end of September, early October, back at the beginning of the season. And it's hard to believe, but we are entering the final stretch run for the Western Ontario Super Hockey League season. It's great to be back here tonight, joined alongside my dad, James. Dad, how are you doing tonight?
I'm not doing too bad, thanks. Thanks for asking. Looking forward to chatting some Thunder. It's been a little while since we've been able to have the podcast, so looking forward to talking some hockey tonight.
Yeah, we're both a little under the weather, a little cold going around, so bear with us with the voices and might be some coughing and stuff, but we're doing the best we can out here. So as I said, only 2 weeks remaining in the Western Ontario Super Hockey League season. We got a lot to catch up on that we've missed over the last couple of weeks. We did a post-game show. Last time we did the post-game show was our last episode we actually recorded also. And it was the Saturday after the Tilbury win at home. A couple Thunder games have happened since then. We do apologize. It's just hard sometimes to get the episodes in. We obviously got our own lives going on, and we're doing our best. But the last couple games haven't been too exciting to talk about either. So I guess we'll get the chance to spoil the fun for everybody tonight and break those two games down. So yeah, as mentioned, we're down to the last 2 weeks, the final stretch of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League season. And it's going to be jam-packed. Like teams like Woodstock, I think they've only played, I got the standings up right here. I'm pretty sure they've only played 19 games. Woodstock's only played 19 games. So they have to get to 24 by the end of next week on Saturday. So
February 17th, yep.
A lot of hockey to play for a few teams. I know the Thunder are at 21 games played. A couple other teams sitting down there. I know Delhi's only got 20 and Woodstock's only got 19. But a couple of these other teams like Petrolia and Strathroy and Dunnville, Orangeville, teams like that, they're already near the end of their schedule. So things are winding down. Thunder do have 3 games left to play. And we'll talk about the last 2 that they had. And we'll start it off. It was a Tuesday night game at the Thunderdome, second to last home game, January 30th. So going on over a week ago at this point. The Elora Rocks came to town. Tillsonburg, a couple weeks prior, went up to Elora. It was Fergus that they played in at that time. And they beat the brakes off of Elora in Fergus, 7-1. And Elora came down on a Tuesday night looking for some revenge. And we might as well just cut right to the highlight package from here. These highlights of the Elora and Tillsonburg game are brought to you by Andrew Rogers and the Washel podcast. So check Andrew Rogers out. He does a great job. Again, it's called the Washel podcast. Thanks, Raji, for putting up the highlights. I'm going to cut to these right now. Tillsonburg Thunder highlights. This time brought to you by Andrew Rogers and the Washel podcast.
A great job with the national anthem tonight. Western Ontario Super Hockey League action on a Tuesday. It's a rare sight for the Washel. You don't see a lot of Tuesday games, but this is a make-up game. A game being made up between the two teams that were supposed to play earlier on in the month in Elora. And back here in Tillsonburg. They played a back-to-back home and home. This was supposed to be the second half of that, played on a Saturday. But instead, we'll take care of business here Tuesday at 8:15. Starting in net for your Tillsonburg Thunder, number 30, Andre Roy. And for the Elora Rocks, the former Western Ontario Super Hockey League champion, number 1, Colin Dunn. We are underway here in Tillsonburg on a Tuesday night. You're not going to hear that very often. In his own net, looks to get into trouble, but he puts it right on the stick of Thompson. And eventually it comes out to center ice, where McCormack will charge up with it. McCormack stops up, has it taken off his stick by Thompson. Thompson makes a move. Sheldon Thompson. He's got Geldart going to the net. Across Geldart, shot, score! Kane Geldart, the Thunder strike early. Just 19-19 into the period. Thunder take the 1-0 lead less than a minute in. Stevens wins another draw, that one against McQueen. Robertson has it. Robertson's going to hold up, wait, and emerge with that puck, fires it on the wall to Dada in the middle. Here come the Rocks across the line. McLaughlin fires a shot, save, rebound, loose, and Charlie Stevens buries it. Charlie Stevens on the backhander on the rebound gets this game evened up at 1. 9:28 to play here in the first. Rocks and Thunder deadlocked. puts it in deep, and Thunder going to peel off for a change. Behind his own net, Owen Robertson emerges, fires a pass on the tape that time of Utley. He spots his man coming down the wing, McLaughlin in, Utley shoots, scores! Alex Utley fired that shot. A nice break in from the Rocks, and just like that, it's 2-1 for Elora here, 5:40 to play in the first. Stevens joins the battle. Stevens chips it high in the air, knocked down by Finley. Finley cuts to the middle, takes a shot, tip just off the stick of Thompson and sent into the corner. Rocks start up. That's a pass knocked down by Geldart, or Stevens was streaking. Stevens couldn't knock that one down, and here comes Geldart. Fires a pass wide and around. Can Kudo get there? 6 seconds to play in the period. Thunder need to get a shot on goal if they're going to get one. 3, 2, and 1. That'll end the first period here in Tillsonburg. After one, the visiting Elora Rocks lead 2-1 shots on goal. 14 for Elora, 7 for the Thunder. Stick around. We'll be right back with second period action here on Sportfeed. And a simple message for the Thunder there after one period of play. Get your legs going and try to generate more offense. They were just lackadaisical in that first period. Not a lot of offense being produced, and the Rocks took it to them in that first period in terms of skating, winning puck battles, and getting high danger chances on net. Thunder had really one high danger chance in that first period. It was in the back of the net. Just 40 seconds in, Kane Geldart, the goal scorer for the Thunder. And for the visiting Rocks, Alex Utley and Charlie Stevens, the goal scorers in the first period. Wyzak. Wyzak's going to have to turn back in his own end. Colton Wyzak, the steady young rookie defenseman, plays it for Justin Abraham, the veteran. Abraham's going to skate with it. Knocks into a man and gets it through to Geldart. He's tripped, no call. Now it's loose in center ice, and Hutchison's just going to chip it in on Dunn, and he's going to tee it up there. Now there's a puck off a skate. Alman can't quite get to it though, and the Rocks are going to break out. Flying up through center ice, here comes Cameron. Cameron cuts to the middle, fires a shot, blocked though by Wyzak. Good block. Now a shot through the legs of Waugh, and that's going to be Zach Cameron adding another to his goal total this year. And the Rocks take the 2-goal lead. Stevens and Geldart on the draw. Stevens wins it. Fired shot, scores! Alex Utley fired that shot. Waugh must not have had a good sight line on that one. That one beat him clean, and Rocks take the 4-1 lead. Geldart spins it down low. Kudo gets it for Thompson. Thompson back for Kudo. Score off the back bar, right behind the ear of Colin Dunn. Thunder right back in the game. It's 4-2. So now they're going to toss Hutchison because of the late sub from the Thunder. But Alman takes draws as well. He wins that one. Brzezinski has to go off his skate though. Aaron gets it to McCormack. Look out. And that one's a sneaky goal on Waugh. That one snuck through. And McCormack silences the crowd there as that gives the Rocks the 3-goal lead back. And for Andre Waugh, it's been a couple of goals tonight that he's going to want to have back, that's for sure. So, goal from the Rocks, and looks like they're going to pull Waugh here, and they're going to put Raymond in, it looks like. And Andre Waugh, who's been fantastic for the Thunder this year, this is the only off game he's had so far all year, and it's just when first place is on the line, I get it, with Jesse Raymond coming off the huge win over the Tilbury Bluebirds on Saturday, I get it. And that last goal, here comes the Razor. Crowd will get behind him. The Thunder need to get somebody down on that forecheck. Spun up the wall, kept in by Barletta. Still kept in by Barletta. Here's Oban. Backhands it in front, couldn't quite find McQueen, sneaking in the back door. Jamie McQueen for Oban. Oban tripped there by Stevens, but I guess the NHL discount doesn't allow a penalty on that one. Here they come. Charging up, there's 3 of them. In the middle, look out. Utley in, across, scores. Kandata buries that one. Perfectly executed rush from the Rocks. And the bleeding will not stop here in Tillsonburg, 6-2. Thunder still got some life in them though. There's this play towards the offensive zone. McQueen across McGuffin. McGuffin off his skates. 13 seconds to play in the period. McGuffin towards the middle. Score! Chris McGuffin gets it right back. Thunder right back in the game. 6-3 the score. Just a little floater towards the net from McGuffin, and it found its way in. So 6-3 will be the score as we head to the third period. Time ticks down here in the second. After 2 periods of play, the visiting Elora Rocks with a 6-3 lead over the hometown Tillsonburg Thunder. We'll be right back with third period action here on Sporfy. And they did. So here's another huge power play for the Thunder. 15:06 to play in the third. Alman loses that draw, sent right down the ice by the Rocks. Raymond tees it up. Barletta behind the Tillsonburg net. He's going to start up with it. Thunder look to get their breakout going on this power play. Barletta spun back. Barletta, so skilled with that puck, and he's got great skating ability, but he's going to miss that pass. And sent all the way down the ice by the Rocks. Teed up by Jesse Raymond. They'll try it again. 1.5 minutes to play on this power play. Thunder power play heading into the night, one of the top ranked in the Washel. Not a good night tonight for their power play. There's a turnover in their own zone. Look out, play to the middle, and the Rocks bury it. Brendan Woods buries that one, and Elora restores a 4-goal lead, folks. And the way the Thunder are playing tonight, I think that's all she wrote. Hang your heads on. It was a tough Tuesday night game. McQueen fires one through, tipped on goal. Good stop by Dunn. Yeah, nothing to hang your heads on. This is one to learn from and build from if you are the Tillsonburg Thunder. Wyzek. 40 seconds to play. Down low, Baker. Baker. Side of the net and they score. It's Hutchison. 7-4 with 38.4 to play. But again, nothing to hang your heads on. This is a game to build off of. Learn from. Go on the road. Wyzek out of the reach of McQueen and sent all the way down the ice. That'll be icing on the Rocks. No, it dies down in the corner. 20 seconds to play. Geldart has a look. That's Kane Geldart. Fires it up. What a knockdown there. Here's the Rocks, a 3-on-1 down low. They pass across and they score. McCormack buries that one. Second goal of the game for him. And the Rocks add a little salt in the wound, 8-4. Down here, and Elora comes into the Thunderdome and goes home with an 8-4 win on a Tuesday night. Good for the Rocks. Congratulations, Rocks.
So those were Tillsonburg Thunder highlights. Thanks again, like I said, Andrew Rogers, for doing them. I appreciate it, man. It saves me a couple of minutes tonight as well as we're trying to rush to get this out before Thunder game day or on Thunder game day, obviously. But yeah, as you can see by the highlights, if you didn't make the game, because I know a lot of fans weren't able to make it. It was a Tuesday night. Kids had to get to bed, school the next day, stuff like that. Thunder fall at home to the Elora Rocks, and I believe it was a final score of 8-4. It was a tough game, Dad. Thunder did have a decent lineup in terms of numbers that night, but Elora, they brought their big guns, and Tillsonburg got their early lead 40 seconds in, and then it was just all Rocks after that.
Yeah, it seemed like they had control of the game for the most part. Every time Tillsonburg would gain a little bit of momentum, they just seemed to snatch it right back. And I think, as you said, with the game previous, I think they had a little bit of motivation in there. Mm-hmm. And that top line, they were buzzing all night for the Rocks. And we just couldn't keep up in the compete level with them in that game. I think the better team on the ice that night did deserve to win. And I think, going forward, I mean, we were bound to lose at some point. We were on a pretty good streak going into that game. And sometimes it takes that to kind of reset, to reorganize, and get back on mission. So at least the loss happened during the regular season when we still have time to, recuperate and kind of see what we did wrong and where we can improve going forward.
Yeah, for sure. It was a tough game. Thunder were on the back end of 3 games in 5 days. They had beat Strathroy on the Friday night 3-2, I believe it was. Tight game, right down to the wire. It might have been 4-3. I can't exactly remember. And then back at home the very next day, they played Tilbury. And Tilbury brought a really short bench, which is another topic we'll get on when we touch on the next game following this Elora game. But yeah, it was a tough game. Guys were tired, you could tell. The lineup wasn't at 100%. Thunder's still dealing with a lot of injuries. The injury bug has bitten them. And fortunately for them, a lot of these injuries look like they might be able to be taken care of prior to playoffs. But still, at the end of the day, it's a game that you wanted, obviously, the Thunder to be able to clinch first place. That was what was on the line that night, was first place guaranteed, clinch that night if they would have won. And unfortunately, they weren't able to execute. And it was a game with some bad bounces. There were some goals. I think Andre Waugh got to start. I think Andre would have liked to have a few of those goals back. The Thunder didn't really capitalize on their power play opportunities. And it seemed like every time they got back into the game, something would go wrong, and Elora would strike right back. So you got to hand it to Elora. Obviously, they were fired up getting back into Elora, actually playing in their home arena. I know they beat Petrolia 8-1, and I know Petrolia doesn't travel well, but still you could tell. And me and Bill Ryan, general manager of the Thunder, had a chat about that Elora was playing with some fire behind them because, A, you don't want to get caught in the 8 seed. If you can get up to the 7 seed, do everything you can in your power to get up there. Because if you're in that 8 seed, you could face Orangeville in the first play-in tournament game, and a couple of their guys, big guns, show up, and all of a sudden you're out of the playoffs in 1 game. So obviously they had a lot to play for, but at the same time the Thunder did as well. And, obviously with first place on the line, you would have expected the boys to hopefully come out and put everything they had into it. And I'm not saying they didn't have a great effort, because they still did. Offensively, they didn't disappoint. They still put up a few goals on Dunn, who's one of the better goaltenders in the league. It just was one of those games where the flow, 40 seconds in, Geldart scores, and the fans that were there were pretty fired up. I was fired up as the broadcaster. But you could tell the momentum just totally swung, in Elora. Swang. I'm just making up my own words over here on Thunder Hour Podcast, but I'll blame that one on the sickness and the cold and flu medicine. Yeah. But no, Elora just took control of the game, and Charlie Stevens, former NHLer, he's a big-time player, and even at his age, in his 40s, he's still showing that he can get it done, Dad, and I think he did just that. And his team obviously came out with the 8-4 win. So tough break, but it's just 1 game, right? So
it's hockey, and it happens, right? You're not going to win them all, no matter how good of a team you have on the ice. It happens. So,
Well, heading into the game, the Thunder were actually 5-0-0 in the month of January, so they had a chance to go for the perfect month. 6-game month in the Washel is pretty rare. You don't see it a lot. You usually get 4 games, maybe 5. You'll have 1 weekend with a back-to-back, and then the rest of the weekends are spread out. But yeah, with the cancellation and the 3 games in 5 days, they got a chance to go 6-0 in the month, and they unfortunately were not able to do so, but still finishing the month of January with an impressive 5-1-0 record. I thought it was a good bounce back, because you go back to prior to the holidays, losing obviously in the heartbreaker at home to Woodstock after the big comeback in overtime, and then they just went on a roll. And even dating back to that Stratford loss at home, I think we'd mentioned it, that they were on a great tear. They were, I think, 8-0-1 following the Stratford regulation loss at home up until that game against Elora. So that was their first regulation loss since losing to Stratford back in November. So obviously the boys were on a great tear, and hopefully they can continue to take some of the momentum they built in the past month. But obviously injuries have played a big factor, and we'll touch on the injuries after we spend a quick minute recapping our next contest on the ledger. So Thunder played that Tuesday game, and then they went up on Saturday to take on the Alvinston Killer Bees. This is last Saturday. Here we are recording Thursday night. We'll release the podcast Friday, which is game day for the Thunder. Their next game against Stratford on the 9th. But this happened this past Saturday, which would have been, I believe, the 3rd of February, up in Alvinston, taking on a young and hungry Killer Bees team. And the Thunder were short-staffed to a T. Only 11 skaters made the trip down to Alvinston due to vacations and things like that. Guys are out of town. Guys are banged up, obviously. So really short lineup, and we got the highlights for those as well. And these highlights are going to be brought to you by 519 Sports Online. Thanks again to 519 Sports Online. I've used a couple of their highlight packages this year. They do a really good job, high-quality footage, and they always seem to be right on the button with all things this kind of southwestern corner, the 519 of Ontario. They're all over it when it comes to minor hockey, junior B, junior A, junior C, local girls hockey. They're all over everything. Football in the summer, youth football, high school football, all of it. 519 Sports Online does a great job, and once again, they did a great job with these highlights. So these are Tillsonburg Thunder highlights, and this time, for the second time in the episode, brought to you not by Domino's, but by, this time, 519 Sports Online. Enjoy.
Saturday night action in Alvinston for our Western Ontario Super Hockey League game of the week. Alvinston getting set to host Tillsonburg. First period action of this one. And the Thunder getting on the board first on the road. A little floater finds its way to the back of the net. Kyle Brzezinski gets number 3 on the season as Tillsonburg hops out to a 1-0 lead. Shortly after, though, the home side going to even things up. Carson Perry buries his 12th. Perry even things up all at 1 here in the first period, and Alvinston wasn't done yet in the first frame. Late stages of it. Point shot, deflects out front. Loose puck comes into the slot. In behind the netminder, Aiden Pruder buries. And after 20 minutes of play, it's a 2-1 Alvinston game. To the second frame we go. It's Rylan Bowers in on a breakaway for the Killer Bees. He opens up the netminder and buries it 5-hole. Just like that, it's a 3-1 hockey game. But the Thunder would respond shortly after. Sheldon Thompson up top. He buries it in the slot. Thompson has made it back to a 1-goal game. It's 3-2 Killer Bees. That's where we would sit after 40 minutes of play. To the third frame we go, and more scoring coming. For the home side, Aiden Pruder buries it. Pruder makes it 4-2 in the third period. The Killer Bees would just keep running away with this one. More offense on the way. Jacob Chantler, he finds that puck in behind the goaltender. He buries it. He makes it a 5-2 hockey game in favor of Alvinston. Home side loving it. More coming. Dawson Winchester this time in all alone. He makes no mistake short side. He makes it a 6-2 hockey game. And Alvinston, an offensive explosion in the third period. Now Tillsonburg looking to respond, and that's exactly what they do as Chris McGuffin walks right in. He fires it short side. He makes it a 6-3 hockey game, but too little too late for the Thunder as James McEwen would bury an empty netter for the Killer Bees as he would seal the deal in this one. He makes it 7-3, and that was plenty for Alvinston, who on home ice dominate. They take this one by a final score of 7-3 over Tillsonburg.
So those were Tillsonburg Thunder highlights brought to you by 519 Sports Online. As I said before, they do a great job covering all things local sports in the 519 area. London, Waterloo, Kitchener, even all the way down to Petrolia, Tillsonburg, all the way down to Tilbury. They cover a lot of local sports, junior A, junior B, junior C, the Washel. Like I said, they cover minor hockey, AAA. They're all over the place to do a great job. In the summer, they cover football. They cover high school football in the fall as well. They do a wonderful job. So thanks again to 519 Sports Online. But yeah, it was a tough game for the Tillsonburg Thunder. They went down to Alvinston to take on the Killer Bees. And as you can see from the highlights, final score, Alvinston 7, Tillsonburg 3. Alvinston would get that would be their 12th win of the season. For them, Tillsonburg would fall to 16-4-1. So Alvinston with those 12 wins, they climb up there, now joined alongside other 12-win teams like Stratford. And I know Stratford has a couple of overtime losses. We'll get on to them in a bit, as they are our next opponent, who we are playing tonight. So big game for the Thunder. But yeah, Alvinston gets their 12th win. They hop up in the standings. And I'll just show you quickly before I get into the game breakdown how tight the standings are. So Tillsonburg, first place, 21 games played, 16-4-1. They have 33 points. Tilbury sits in second place. They are 13-7-1. So they have 27 points. And I believe the Thunder do hold the tiebreaker. So one more point for the Thunder. Even if Tilbury wins out, the Thunder will have first place. We'll get into all the clinching scenarios when we break down this game we're talking about now, the Alvinston game. It's just a quick rundown to show you guys how tight it is. Petrolia sits in third place. They've had 22 games played, so they only have 2 left. One of them are against us. They are 13-9-0, and they have 26 points. Stratford sits in fourth place. They are currently 12-6-2, and they have 20 games played, so they have 4 games remaining. They are the only team mathematically that can guaranteed catch the Thunder with a Thunder losing out, Stratford winning out scenario. And obviously our next game tonight is against them, so huge game. We'll break that down after this Alvinston contest. I just wanted to give Dad and I a little voice rest, more so Dad, and then give you guys a little idea what's going on. And there's Alvinston, so there's where I'll cut it off. Alvinston sits in the 5th seed right now, 21 games played. They are 12-8-1, so they are right behind Stratford, who is 12-7-2. So, 12-6-2. So Alvinston does have one more game played. They might not be able to jump a couple of teams, but they can still catch. They could still catch Tilbury. They could still catch Petrolia. They're only 2 points behind. They're only 2 points behind Tilbury for second and 1 point behind Petrolia for third. So they're right there in the standings. It goes to show how obviously crucial this game was for the Killer Bees. And for the Thunder, Dad, as we said, they went in there with a 11-man bench, and it just did not bode well for the boys in black and gold. The Thunder, speaking of, I know Elvis is black and gold as well, but it was a tough game, man. Right from the start, they were gassed. You could tell the last couple minutes, the last 5 minutes of each period, all 3 periods, they just had nothing left in the tank. So
yeah, it doesn't help having a short bench, but as we've talked about in the past, this league, it happens from time to time, and I mean, you don't want to make excuses. Like we've said, Alvinston had to play who was there, just like we did when we played against Tilbury and they were short. So it does happen, but I mean, they gave it their all. Eventually, like for my money, anytime a team has that much of a significant reduction in roster, like it's going to catch up to you. And like you said, by 15, 16 minutes into each period, you could see that impact. And then I think that's probably why they were able to pull away the way they did in the third as well, right? It just you get to the point where you just don't have it, right? So credit to the boys. They gave everything they had, and they still put on a good show for you guys who made the trip down there. So
it was still a good game. All things considered, it was 3-2 heading into the third period. Thunder got the first goal. They struck first. Kyle Brzezinski snuck in and took a little wrist shot and went under the blocker, kind of hit under the arm of DeConing. He went to squeeze it, and it just trickled in. It was a great sight. Alvinston's barn, if you sit near the ends, you can't really see the opponent's side. So we were sitting on the Thunder end, so where they defend twice. At the beginning of the game, we couldn't really see a lot down in the other end, but we did see Brzezinski sneak one through DeConing. And then we moved down to the glass side for the rest of the game. Again, Alvinston did a great job packing that place. I'd say there was well over 600 people there, 700 people at least, in a little tiny barn like that in a little tiny town like Alvinston. It's a great sight to see. That's why the Washoe targets smaller towns like this, smaller markets, because they're known to pack the barns. Kyle Brzezinski opened it up, and then Carson Perry, Aiden Pruder got the 2 goals for the Bees in the first period. And then second period, Rylan Bowers opened it up on the breakaway goal. That was the eventual game winner. It was Aiden Pruder that got the game winner in the third on the breakaway. That was the only goal for Alvinston. The second was Rylan Bowers. Sheldon Thompson would get 1 for the Thunder, so it was 3-2, as I said, heading into the third period. And then Aiden Pruder on the breakaway, just 3 minutes into the period. Jacob Chandler, Dawson Winchester, and James McEwen would round out the scoring for the Bees. McEwen with the empty netter. And then for the Thunder, 1 goal scorer in the third period was Chris McGuffin. He got one on the power play, 9:53 to play, into the third, so just over the 10-minute mark. It was, as I said, it was a close game heading into the third. For a team with the short bench, I was still very impressed with what the boys were able to do for those first two periods. And that was a battle-testing game. I think that all the boys knew we have a chance to win, and then when Brzezinski opens the scoring, it's like, yeah, we're right in this thing. Sagarot made some huge stops. Like, Matt Sagarot played lights out, and I know you're going to see 6 goals against. The Thunder gave up some high-danger chances because you're running 4 defensemen. One of those defensemen is Mike Finley, who is a veteran in this league. Finns does a great job at what he's expected to do. He goes out there, he blocks shots, he gets in the lane, he has a good active stick, but he doesn't have the legs to go out there, and he'll admit it to us right now. Finn does not have the legs to keep up with a bunch of these 21, 20-year-old kids, fresh out of the OHL kids from Alvinston. So to be in that game at 3-2, I thought it was really impressive. It was a battle-testing kind of game. You know, you had Whalen, Guff, McQueen, and then you had Kane Geldart, you had Kyle Brzezinski, you had basically it was a small group of guys. That's you had Kudo and Thompson as well. That was it. Brzezinski was playing defense and offense. Wyzek as well jumped up a couple times onto the forward lines. Like, it was small. It was a small roster that night. Chris Knotts was there. Mike Finley. You also had Tony Geldart. Tony played a great game as well for being so short. And these guys aren't NHL players. They're not out there working out every single day, focusing on their craft. These guys are going to work the day before and then coming out on a road trip to Elvinston with 10 other teammates, obviously. I really commend the boys for hanging in there as long as they did. And I thought, you know what, all things considered, it's a 7-3 loss. And like you said, Dad, you got to build from it. You got to learn from it. But I think that they can take this and, the bonding experience of those guys. Because, guys like McQueen, Whalen, McGuffin, and Thompson, and Kudo, and Kane Geldart, and Brzezinski, those guys offensively, they had to really bond together to even be in that game. And I thought they did a great job of that. So. Mm-hmm.
They did, yeah. And like you said, I mean, sometimes it's not always positive to lose, but during the regular season is when you want to have these little hiccups. I mean, it's really tough to dissect. Like you said, the first loss was 3 games in 5 days. Mm-hmm. The second loss was with a very short bench, so you do have to take that with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. And like we said, they were on a streak, so eventually, usually, all good things come to an end. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I said, with 3 games left, 2 weeks to go in the regular season, it's probably the time to get these little bugs ironed out and see what was working, what wasn't working, and kind of recalibrate and focus on getting that game at the top level as you're heading into the postseason.
For sure. I agree 100%, Dad. And so the Killer Bees take it to the Thunder in the third period, 7-3, the final score in that game. And it was kind of interesting. It was number 9 for the Bees, Dawson Winchester. He's one of those little jitterbug guys. He's one of those, get under your skin and piss you off kind of guys. And he scored at, I believe it was about 8 minutes into the third period. And he saw myself and a couple of the other Thunder fans representatives that were standing down on the glass in the Thunder end. And he came over. He celebrated hard right in our faces. He said some key words, got a little wink in there. 2-hand slam on the glass right in front of us. Whatever. Dawson, all I wanted to say to you, big guy, is when you come down to Tillsonburg on the 17th of February, please bring that same energy because we want to see it when we are at home with a full bench and first place potentially on the line. I want to see that same energy. Number 9, Dawson Winchester. Please and thank you. But that's all jokes aside for the Alvinston game. 7-3 the final score. Again, Tillsonburg falls to 16-4-1 after that contest. So that brings us to our final 3 games. And tonight is probably the biggest of all 3. So the Thunder played tonight in Stratford. 7:30, a rare time for Stratford home game. That's how you know it's a big one for those fans. That's how you know they're fired up to play us. 7:30 Friday night game in Stratford. Normally at the Alman because of the Warriors and all the other hockey that goes on. Usually Jamie and the guys are able to secure the Saturday afternoon starts during the regular season at least. You'll see a lot of Saturday 2:30, Saturday 3:30, Saturday 4:30, even the odd Friday night. And this is one of the Friday night games they were able to secure, Dad. And it's us, it's the Irish, it's the top 2 teams in this league, in my opinion, with Petrolia on their recent skid. I know Tilbury's climbing back up there again, but I think talent-wise, I think system-wise, I think organizationally speaking as well, this is the battle for first place. And it really, because of Petrolia's losing streak, so don't forget the Thunder aren't the only ones on a little bit of a skid here. Petrolia had a chance to not only catch us but overtake us with our last little skid, but they have been on a little losing streak themselves. Stratford and Tillsonburg, guys, ladies and gents, it all comes down to this. This is all the marbles, Dad. This is everything for this season. And I know the Thunder have a little bit of room to play with. I know that Stratford, mathematically, if the Thunder get 2 more points, Stratford can't catch them. So, yeah, you could say, well, even if they lose tonight and then say they beat Petrolia, then they get first place either way, or they beat Alvinston, they get first place either way. I think that this tonight proves not only to us, the fans, but to the executives, to everybody around the league, the Thunder mean business. They're here to make a statement, and what better way to go out and clinch first place than going into the Alman, one of the toughest places to win, and taking 2 points off one of the best teams in the league, the Stratford Fighting Irish.
Yeah, you don't ever want to be backing into the playoffs.
No.
So if you have an opportunity to secure first place when you get the opportunity, you want to do it. We've had a few chances, and strike 1, strike 2. Well, you know what? You're not out till 3 strikes. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely a huge statement game. The teams don't seem to really like each other.
No.
The Thunder have struggled with them recently. It seems to be kind of one of those teams that they just can't sometimes get over the hump with.
Yeah.
So this will be a good test for them as we get ready to go into the playoffs. If they can come out and play the way they're capable of and get the 2 points, it would be a huge statement game for them to show, we're not scared of these guys. We can go into their barn and do what we need to do to solidify first place in this league and know that we're going to be, having home ice advantage throughout the playoffs if we do that.
For sure.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I think both teams will be ready to go, and I think, like we've said a few minutes ago, like this is a big-time statement game, but definitely the biggest game of the season right now, for sure.
For sure. I mean, we've had a few of those cliche games. You go all the way back to around my birthday, October 28th, in Tilbury, where this is a huge game. I remember Leaf and I were on the podcast. This is a huge game, and it was. And I remember playing Petrolia in Tillsonburg the night the Green Bay Packers. I remember that. That was the night the Pack lost in the divisional game a few short weeks ago to the San Francisco 49ers. But that was a game again where it was like, this is the battle for first place. But you know what? Now as the season winds down, Stratford's got 4 games left, I believe, or 3 games left, and we also have 3 games left. This is it. This is for all the marbles. If Tillsonburg wants to step on Stratford and say, no, you're not going to catch us, and at the same time lock up first place, which guarantees you home ice advantage throughout the entire Western Ontario Super Hockey League playoffs, which, for those who don't know as well, the home team gets to select games played and locations. So, huge implications. Like I remember last year, we saw teams pick game 1 on the road, and then 2 and 3 at home, and then 4 on the road, and then 5 at home. And so you have the ability to play with that. If you're in first place, you're guaranteed to take that spot. And this is what better way to prove it, and what better way to do it than against Stratford. And as we mentioned, Coach Derek Partlow, he runs a great system. Parts is a hockey guy through and through. He was a stud down in the NCAA back in the 80s with the Ohio Bobcats. He's a hockey guy through and through. That's the best way to describe him. He's the first head coach in Tillsonburg Thunder history. He's returning to this young, fast, explosive team all these years later. And ironically, this is his first crack at Stratford as the head coach of the Thunder. So our previous coaching staff were behind the bench when we took the was it 4 or 5-0?
5-0 at home. They ended up. It was the final in that game.
Yep, and the previous coaching staff was relieved of their duties after that game. And Parts has done a great job. Look at the role they went on. I know Parts didn't get hired right away because I ended up coaching a stinking game up in Orangeville, so in between. But Parts took the job. This is his first crack at Stratford. He's an old school hockey guy. He knows how to attack systems. Stratford runs a very unique system, and Jamie Petrie has his guys bought in. He's got his coaching staff backing his guys up and encouraging those younger players of their team. They're still, I don't think they're quite the same team they were last year, and neither are we, right? This is senior hockey. There's a 40% turnover, 50% every year. But this is Parts' first crack as the head coach at the Stratford Fighting Irish, who, by the way, I think we're going to see at least at some point in the postseason. Fingers crossed, obviously, getting through that first round, because obviously we're not going to see them there. Might not even see them in the second round if this is the first and second place teams at the end of the day. Might not see them till like we did last year. And we don't want things to go the way they did last year, because that's kind of where I'm leading up to this, Dad. And the boys are well aware of it, as we are as fans. If you've been paying attention to the Thunder for the last few years, since the Western Ontario Super Hockey League formed, or even way back to the WAAA days, Thunder last season went to Stratford in November at the Alman and beat them. I believe it was 7-3, 7-4 in Stratford on their turf. They didn't like that, obviously. They come to our barn last year, student night. You were in attendance for that game. I was in Guelph watching an OHL game that night. Stratford came out and they beat the brakes off of us at home. And then, fast forward, we meet them in the championship 4 straight. And then, fast forward to November 18th this year, we play them in Tillsonburg and 5-0 final. So if you count those up, the Thunder are 0-6 in their last 6 games against the Irish. Last season, student night, 4 games in the championship, and then 1 game this year. So we're on a 6-game losing streak against these guys. And best way to put it is, when you have first place on the line, when you're the best team in the league, and you want to go out there and prove it, what better way than to go in against a team that you have these demons against, and to exercise those demons on a Friday night, 7:30 puck drop at the Alman, historic venue. And like I said, 0-6. You guys know that. You guys are aware of it. And it's no fault of your own. You guys, I've watched the Thunder play in that entire championship series. It was tight. It's not like that series was just out of control. The first game, some wild bounces. Things got crazy. I remember Razor came out to play. The one puck bounced off the wall. We had some goaltending changes in the championship. Outside of that first game, it was a close series, Dad. And you go back to student night last year, and then the game in Tillsonburg this year. Not as close, obviously. But this is a team that has our number. And we've seen teams like Woodstock go into Stratford and beat them at the Alman twice in a month. We've seen the Orangeville Blitz go and put up a fight last week. We saw the Dunnville Arrows, the 10th place team in the league, go in and lay a 6-1 beatdown on the Irish in Stratford. So it goes to show, not only can any team win any given day, but these guys are beatable. And to go in there and show that we're the best team in the league, I think this is a huge game for that, Dad. And like I said, what better way to lock up first place than to go into the Alman and do it on a Friday night under the lights and with that loud crowd and all the Tillsonburg people supporting you as well on the road. What better way to get it done, Dad, in my opinion, for sure.
Well, definitely you have to exercise your demons. Sometimes hockey can be like similar to like boxing, like certain styles don't jive with one another. But that being said, it's not like they're not beatable. It just seems that we, you know what I mean? The systems don't always jive. Like the way we play, like you said, it's weird. Even we were talking about that earlier during the Flyers-Jets game. Like for some reason, Philly's dominated the Jets. Like other teams have a lot of trouble with them. And it's not like Tillsonburg's not a good team, but for whatever reason, they've got to try to switch up the strategy when they play against the Irish. And I think it'll be a huge statement game, as I said earlier, if they can come out with these 2 points, because you start to kind of slay those dragons and move forward, right? That's why I said earlier, make a statement, go in, get the win. You're on a little bit of a losing streak, so you want to end that. You want to show these guys that if you come back in the playoffs, hey, we've been there, we've done that, we've proven that we have the recipe to do this, right? So it is a big game. I don't want to put too much on it. Every game in a 24-game season does have a lot of significance, but like just because of the way, like you said, the last 6 games have left a sour taste in the Thunder's mouth, I think it would make a big statement going forward to say we got first place solidified in your barn, definitely. So I'm hoping you guys can get motivated from our little pep talk here and put your best skate forward there, boys, tomorrow night or tonight when this is being released.
Yeah, I fully agree. This is a great way to go out, take that control of the league, and lock down first place. And if you look at the standings, like I said, Tillsonburg with a win would hit 35 points. Stratford would only be able to get to 32. So if you have an overtime loss, Stratford could still catch you and get to 34, and we'd only be at 34. So if we lost both to Petrolia and Alvinston, Stratford could still catch us. So bottom line is, a win gets it done. Nobody in the league can catch us statistically if we get a win Friday or next Friday and Saturday. One of the 3. But preferably let's do it tonight in Stratford. What better way to do it? What better scene to do it? where we lost both games in the championship last year. Just remember back to that 7-4 win in Stratford. Let's go out there. Let's get the energy going early. Foot on the gas. Hard forecheck. Let's trap these guys in their own system. Obviously, Jamie and Bill know each other well. And this is a big game for the league as well, right? This is the game of the year, in my opinion. So, Tillsonburg Thunder lay it all on the line, as do the Stratford Fighting Irish. We apologize. We're having some lag issues here on the feed. So, just bear with us, guys, as we close out the show. Tillsonburg has a remaining schedule of Stratford tonight, on the road in Petrolia next Friday night, 8:30 puck drop at the Greenwood Rec Center in Petrolia. And then Saturday, February 17th, here in Tillsonburg at the Thunderdome versus the visiting Alvinston Killer Bees. Dad, thanks a lot for joining me again tonight. I'm just, we'll cut to the ending here. We'll send it off with the lag going on. I don't want to stop recording and re-record again because we've had to do that a few times.
It's been rough. I've been dealing with this good old Canadian cold, so I decided to come and tickle my throat halfway through the podcast.
Yeah,
so
we have a few cuts.
Yeah, we have a little bit of editing to do at the end of this episode here.
Yeah, make my job that much easier. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us here on Thunder Hour Podcast. It's been an honor to be joined alongside my dad, James. We're going to do an episode next week where we'll break down the Stratford game, which is happening tonight, 7:30 puck drop at the Alman. And then we will line up our next and final weekend. And then we will have our special edition. Join us, folks, if you can, Saturday, February 17th, after the game. And as the description said, after the boys clean up and get ready to head over to the Copper Mug, one of our top sponsors. The Thunder are going to be hosting a meet and greet after party at the Copper Mug. We're going to be doing our second episode of Thunder Hour Trivia at the Mug. We're going to be doing a live post-game reaction and a playoff preview show. And we're hoping to have a few guys such as Mr. Jamie McQueen, Mr. Andrew Whalen, Mr. Brandon Kudo, a few of the guys we haven't had the chance to get on the show this year, on the show live at the Copper Mug. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. And Saturday, February 17th, after the game in Tillsonburg, we'll be going live to the Copper Mug for our Thunder Hour post-game show. Thanks again for joining me, Dad, and to all of Tillsonburg. We hope you have a great night. We will see you later, Tillsonburg. Let's go Thunder. Woo!